Hey everyone, I've recently started writing on Substack, and when I write there, I also record an audio. So I thought I would start to upload these audios to the podcast so you get an extra little bonus episode. And if you want to follow my blogs and articles on Substack, the link is in the show notes. Enjoy. Hi, I'm Harriet Frew and I write about the psychology of eating disorders. I've personally recovered from bulimia and I've worked as a therapist for 20 years. I hope to inspire, educate and improve understanding about eating disorders through my writing. Names used are fictional and stories shared are combined insight of many client experiences. I believe that full recovery is possible for everyone, and you may want to check out my podcast, The Eating Disorder Therapist. How I cope with eating at Christmas. If you have an eating disorder, Christmas ranks as one of the most challenging and fearful times of the year. Food is literally everywhere, including many foods you might deem as forbidden fruit, tempting, calling, seducing and preoccupying your mind. I vividly remember the bubbling internal distress I felt as I contemplated how I would navigate the festive celebrations in the midst of bulimia. How could I restrict ahead in anticipation of the food overload? How could I avoid binging when one Quality Street chocolate could set off a mega binge-a-thon? Early December was always the time for damage limitation. I'd be counting calories and volume eating, aiming for clean choices and the utmost control. With an iron rod of discipline, I would self-righteously reject the mince pies and mulled wine, considering that this year was going to be my perfect food Christmas, aka not eating much at all. And this would continue into December, and I would feel beautifully on track for a Christmas holiday of restrained eating to take me gloriously into the new year of January detoxes. This time would be different, I thought, before I just hadn't found the right plan. But Christmas morning would come with the arrival of finely wrapped presents and sparkling champagne, and naturally accompanied with the pressures of family expectations and mountains of delicious food. Within a few sips of festive pop, the self-control of the last few weeks would suddenly feel smothering and restrictive. Surely one day won't matter in the grand scheme of things, I'd think. I can be back on track with strict self-discipline tomorrow. And after weeks of denial, the first few bites of stocking chocolate would taste divine. Endorphins happily buzzing through my body and the elating rush of blood sugar. Momentary heavenly bliss. But when you have a disordered relationship with food, one incidence of breaking the rules often brings a landslide of eating chaos as backlash against weeks of deprivation. I'd literally jumped off the cliff. I was in free fall without a parachute. I'd then left planet Earth for the land of binge eating for the foreseeable future. The rest of Christmas Day would be a fog of hazy dissociation, conversations with loved ones distracted by my wanting to eat more and then secretly doing so, and feeling monumentally guilty and alone in the whole experience. I didn't look like I had an eating disorder. I was normal body weight, and I wasn't going to tell anyone about what was going on. The shame I felt was debilitating. Others just would not understand. And then Christmas lunch would arrive, and I wasn't remotely hungry after binging, but would keep eating to appear normal around food. And the day would continue to unravel, spilling into Boxing Day and beyond. When you have disordered eating or an eating disorder, your weight and shape become all-consuming barometers of your self-worth. Rules around food dominate your thoughts 24/7 as you desperately attempt to feel better by gaining control of eating. Now, these harsh rules are simply unsustainable and will often be broken with all the predictable anxiety, guilt and disgust that follows. Whatever your shape and size, you're not immune to experiencing this predicament. And I'm pleased to say that my eating problem days are well behind me and I make concerted efforts to remain at peace with food. But if you're struggling, what can you do to support yourself? 5 Christmas food coping strategies. Number 1, stay in your own lane. At Christmas, other people will not be your best role models around eating. It's not uncommon for Auntie Jean to be dieting, or your older brother to be intermittent fasting, or someone else obsessing over their gut microbiome. Other people might not eat regularly and miss meals. If you are in recovery from an eating disorder, eating regularly is like wearing your oxygen mask. You 100% need to do it and prioritise this self-care. Overhunger leaves you vulnerable to overeating when you're presented with a lavish buffet and endless treats. Instead, make deliberate, intentional decisions to eat little and often throughout the day to keep blood sugar stable, choosing foods that are sustaining and satisfying. And when it comes to Christmas dinner, you do not need to go crazy. Treat it like a regular eating occasion and portion accordingly. And 2 to 3 hours later, have your snack, even if everyone else is stuffed to the brim with no interest in food. Your self-care is vital. Give yourself permission to practice this. Get your loved ones to support you if this is helpful. Number 2, intentional eating of delicious foods. When the pendulum swings away from restrictive eating, you probably desire to eat every single food in sight. Never mind whether you even like the food or not. Banning food brings on feelings of deprivation and misery. Human beings do not like scarcity. Remember the toilet roll situation in lockdown. People became obsessed and hoarded the things. Avoid scarcity and consider the foods that you particularly love. You are not a dustbin for any old Christmas delight. So if you desire the Christmas pudding, make a conscious choice to permit it wholeheartedly and to celebrate. Serve yourself a reasonable portion and sit at the table with some ceremony, eating slowly while savouring every delicious mouthful. Eating secretly at the cupboard door only fuels self-loathing and robs you of the feeling of satisfaction. Number 3, no body-bashing behaviours. Standing on the weighing scales or scrutinising the mirror reflection of your stomach on Christmas morning is unhelpful and unwise. You wouldn't recommend this behaviour to your dearest friend. Such critical body focus is never going to reap the reward of self-love and peace with food. Choose an outfit that is comfortable and flattering for Christmas Day, and focus your attention on the parts of your day that bring you happiness and joy. You might need to take a break or phone a friend or go for a walk. Christmas Day can be intense and some self-care boundaries are crucial. Number 4, you are not a dustbin. Don't be afraid to say no to food that you don't want. And I'm not encouraging restriction here, but rather an intentional tuning into your bodily and hunger cues. When you're in eating disorder recovery, you can feel obliged to eat any food offered, regardless of your body's needs. You're not obligated to eat everything that others are serving you. You have some choice and decision making to implement maximal self-care around regular eating at a healthy quantity for you. Number 5, alcohol and eating. Alcohol can be a wonderful pleasure and social lubricator. It can also bring on feelings of low mood and depression. It might also generate cravings which can exacerbate out of control feelings around food. So think about your alcohol intake within the framework of self-care with consideration around how you can best support yourself. So final thoughts. Christmas can be a potentially stressful time when you struggle with eating. Acknowledge this openly and without judgment. You are not alone in experiencing these worries. You can feel empowered by making an intentional plan to help you manage your relationship with food over the holidays, and you can get support from trusted others in managing this too. And as you move into 2025, make a self-caring resolution towards creating more peace with food and your body. And you know well that seductive January detox will perpetuate disordered eating patterns, however tempting it seems. Do you relate? And how are you going to self-care around eating this Christmas?